This is the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, Nick Anderson.
What is up, Dynasty Degenerates? This is your host, Nick Anderson, with the Down and Dirty Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast, or as you all know it, the Triple D FFP. And guys, we are moving on in the bracket challenge. We are making waves. We're getting ahead in this thing, trying to get this knocked out for you before draft time comes, because that's going to change everything. When the NFL draft comes, that is going to make a world of difference in the landing spots. But we want to evaluate these guys based on their collegiate performances and their skill sets alone so that we know how to accurately place them once they get selected to their respective teams. Now, a little bit of non-fantasy stuff. You're going to have to bear with me today. Your boy Nick, I'm on the struggle bus. I got a first-class ticket to the struggle bus. My wife had me drinking vodka last night, and if you've seen any of my podcasts, you know that I don't drink vodka. I don't have a tolerance for it. I don't know what my limit is. I only stick with Busch Light, which is what I'm drinking right now. A little hair of the dog, but so you're just going to have to bear with me on that one, but I got to get it out there. I'm wearing my Kansas City barbecue shirt today. Shout out to the best barbecue in the nation, Kansas City. But let's get into it, okay? So today on the bracket challenge, we are going to be breaking down Eno Benjamin versus Joshua Kelley and Laviska Shenault versus Bryan Edwards. And I'm excited for this one, man. Like I said, Joshua Kelley's one of those guys. He's kind of my guy, I'm really excited about what he brings to the table, but we'll see where he lands, okay? So let's just jump right in with the running backs. So we're going to jump right in with Joshua Kelley, okay? So Josh Kelley is 22.4 years old. He's 5'11", 212 pounds, okay? A real well-rounded running back. That's kind of the size you want. I'd like him maybe a little bit heavier. I like my people over 215, but that's a good size. He has 9 5/8" hands with 0 fumbles. So, good size hands, not a fumble problem. We look at his combine metrics, okay? He had a 4.4940 in the combine. He had a 31-inch vertical, a 121-inch broad jump, 6.953 cone drill, and a 4.2-second short shuttle. So I like that split between the 4.49 down to the 4.28 on the short shuttle. I like to see that. Shows me that he's both fast and elusive, something that I like there. Okay, let's look a little bit at his career at UCLA. Now, before he went to UCLA, he played 2 years at UC Davis, and I'm assuming he had his city year because of eligibility, and that's why he has that 2017 gap, kind of like we were looking at with Keyshawn Vaughn. But so, the numbers were lackluster at UC Davis, which kind of scares me. I don't like seeing my guys not be able to pop off when they're playing at lesser competition. But then he comes in the 2018 season with UCLA, and he pops off for 225 carries, 12,043 rushing yards, and 12 touchdowns, okay? He also combined that with 27 receptions for 193 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns. So, he's got a little bit of the receiving chops. He popped off the minute that he played against good competition with great stat lines. Then we look at his 2019 season. He had 29 carries for 1,060 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 27 receptions. 11 receptions for 71 receiving yards and 1 touchdown, okay? That equates out to a 5.1 yards per carry and a 9.2% target share of the team, okay? So it's all right. It's nothing crazy impressive. Yeah, good numbers against, moderate competition in the Pac-12. He had a college dominator rating of 33.2%, which puts him in the 77th percentile amongst his peers in the draft class, okay? The Dynasty Dominator has it as 104.3 speed score, which is some moderate speed score, and he had a 113.2 burst score, which is low. So that kind of scares you right there when you're looking at the burst score. It's a little bit of a problematic burst right there, talking about his agility, the way he explodes through the line and all those things. And it's something that you a little bit pick up on film, but I do think that his burst score is not indicative of the game speed that he puts out there. We always talk about, when you're producing at the combine, it's different than when you're out there on the field and you're playing, when you got in the heat of the moment. But so Josh Kelley, for me, he's kind of a jack of all trades. He doesn't do anything that's extra flashy, but everything that he does is efficient. He's got good speed. He works for those extra yards. So he's got that kind of grit that I've seen. He's a guy that's going to go out there and he's going to hurdle, So you can see right here, he hurdles folks, But I mean, if the guy that I kind of compare him to is Sony Michel. Okay. He kind of has all of the skill set that Sony Michel does. And I'm still somebody who's kind of riding the Sony Michel bandwagon. We've seen really good production from him in the NFL. And so I'm hoping that, with Sony Michel, we can see some more years to come with production. And I think that if you believe in what Sony Michel's skill set has, then you've got to be somebody who believes in Josh Kelley a little bit too. I'm not saying they're the exact same player, but moving forward, I see kind of the same production in him. And so with that in mind, I think that Josh Kelley is going to be, he might be a producer in the NFL at some time, but he's not going to be a day one producer. I don't see him getting drafted with the capital that he's going to come in day one and start popping off, but he's somebody that you could stash on your bench and might pay off dividends later on. And so, I mean, all things considered, Josh Kelley he's got good vision. He's got, from my film viewing, he's got good burst in between the tackles. He's got some agility in him. He's got some dead legs and some spin moves and stuff like that. I mean, he's just a jack of all trades. And I don't think that he's going to let you down if he gets the opportunity to play. But the question is he going to get the opportunity? And so then, knowing all that, we got to look at his competition in Eno Benjamin. Okay. So Eno Benjamin is 21 years old, 5'9", 207 pounds. Okay. So all right size, it's okay. It's an okay size. I'm fine with it, especially with the skill set that he has, because he's not a bruising running back. You're not asking him to bang it in between the tackles every time. And you'll see later on through this that Eno Benjamin is never going to be a 20-25 carry back that's going to bust it up in between the tackles every single time. That's just not in his wheelhouse. But he has a lot of other intangibles that make him super valuable. He's got 8 5/8-inch hands, which are small hands for me, but he's got 0 fumble problems in his collegiate career. So it's something that I'm not particularly worried about. Let's take a look at his combine metrics, though. He ran a 4.57, which is surprising when you watch his tape. He's one of those guys, and you're going to see me say this later, he's kind of Clyde Edwards-Helaire light, If you're liking what you see from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then Eno Benjamin is a later round value for you guys because he has all those same intangibles. He's got great hands. He's got great agility, but his speed score isn't showing you what you see out there on the field. And that's because he's got a great burst to him, He had a 39-inch vertical, great burst, 122-inch broad jump, great broad jump, 6.973 cone drill, and a 4.25 short shuttle, which again is that excellent split from the 40 down to the short shuttle score, okay? So it means he's quicker than fast. And I like that, especially when you're looking at what skill set he's bringing to the table. Let's take a look at his career at Arizona. His freshman year, really nothing to bring to the table, nothing to brag about. His sophomore year, though, he popped off with 300 carries, 1,642 rushing yards, and 16 touchdowns, all combined with 35 receptions, 263 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then his junior year, his final year in college, he had 253 carries, 1,083 rushing yards, and 10 touchdowns, accompanied by 42 receptions, 347 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. And so we saw that dip his junior year. But what I think that dip is indicative of is, man, every single time Eno Benjamin is running the ball, there's fucking defenders in the backfield. And I think that's why he's developed this elusive nature to him, is because he's always having to fight out. He's got a great jump cut. He's got a great jump cut, a great spin move. And I think that all comes from the fact that he's had to fight off these defenders in the backfield. The minute he's getting the ball, he's got to be shifty or he's getting eaten fucking alive, Now, something that comes with that are those learning scars, that he gets a little bit too shifty back there, a little bit too, tries to get too creative. But when he does follow his blocks, he has great vision. Being a smaller guy like that, he's good at just getting behind his blocker and just getting he is an absolute problem at the second level. His collegiate target share was 14.4, which puts him in the 92nd percentile of his peers in this draft class, which is just showing you that his skill set isn't banging, His skill set is catching the ball, being elusive, all of those things, which is made for today's NFL, so that makes him a valuable asset. His college dominator rating, he had a 37.4% dominator rating with a 94.9% or 94.9 speed score and a 127.3 burst score, which puts him in the 87th percentile. So that's what I'm saying. He's quicker than fast. And with his skill set, you want to see that. I've told you before, he's like Clyde Edwards-Helaire light for me, kind of like a less explosive Amir Abdullah. And that was somebody that I was high on when he came in, he was a firecracker, but a less explosive Amir Abdullah. He's got that explosion and that X factor that you want to see. I said he's got good patience, but dog shit offensive line, which has made it kind of like a little bit of scarring for him, that he likes to get a little creative in the backfield. But his hands are what's going to win him a job. And I think that's the thing that we need to focus on when we're talking about him, is that he is going to be relegated to the passing game. There's no scenario that I see where Eno Benjamin is going to be a starting bell cow running back in the NFL. But you don't always need that. Not every single running back that you're going to get from a draft class is going to be a fucking number one all-star baller every single time you get it. It's not going to be a Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey. Not everybody's going to be that. But if they can still bring some production to the table as opposed to just sitting on the bench their whole career, that's valuable to me. And so Eno Benjamin, smaller, more elusive, pass-catching back. And I think that that's what gives him the edge in this competition against Josh Kelley. So we got to vote for Eno Benjamin here. Because like I said, some production is better than no production. And if Eno Benjamin gets in the right spot, I think that it's not going to take him a year, 2 years to be able to get acclimated to the NFL. I think that he could be an immediate producer day one because of the assets that he brings to the table. And so, like I said, Eno Benjamin's going up to the winner's bracket, and we'll see him next round. And that's second loss for Josh Kelley. So he's out. We'll see where he fits in once this whole thing shakes out, But we got to go on to the wide receivers now. We've got Laviska Shenault versus Bryan Edwards. And I'm excited about this one because y'all know Laviska Shenault's my boy. Bryan Edwards, that big body wide receiver. I'm a sizes, man. I love my wide receivers big. But let's start right off with Laviska Shenault. He is 21.5 years old at 6'1" and 227 pounds. That is beastly, you guys. 6'1", 227. That's the kind of stuff you want to see. That's A.J. Brown numbers, and he was looking like a grown-ass man against children out there on the field. He's got 9-inch hands with 31 7/8-inch arms, which is a good wingspan for his height. For 6'1", I like to see that because that shows that he's got a little bit more of a catch radius than you would anticipate with a guy his height. Looking at his combine metrics, we all know the story of Laviska Shenault, okay? He came in, he ran the 40. He ran a 4.58 second 40, but that was with a core muscle injury. So watching his tape, watching everything that I see on him, I fully anticipate that if he was 100% and healthy, that number would be way, way down. But that's what we got to deal with right now. But the one thing about him coming to the combine, because he didn't compete in anything else, because he was injured, is that I've said it before, it just shows the attitude of this guy. It shows that he wants to win. It shows that he prioritizes this over everything else. There are guys that were worried about hurting their draft stock, worried about hurting their bank account and not coming to the combine. But Laviska Shenault did that shit. Probably got a terrible fucking agent, but he did that because this dude just wants to ball. And there's nothing that I like to see more than that. I love the fact that the dude's growing out his dreads in honor of his father. It just seems like he's got good morals. He's got a good backstory. All of those things make a difference to me because it's the little intangibles, the little nuggets that tell you that he is going to be somebody who's got his head on straight when he goes to the next level. And I love that about him. So I just think that all of the personality traits and everything are going to be aces for him. Freshman year, he had not much going on at Colorado, but his sophomore year, his breakout age at 19 to 20 years old, he had 86 receptions for 1,011 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. He accompanied that with a thing that makes him an X factor, is he had 17 rushes for 115 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then he followed that up by a junior season with 56 receptions, 746 yards and 4 touchdowns, accompanied with 23 rushes, 161 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And that you just cannot overlook the fact that he has those rushing chops in his back pocket. There is no other wide receiver in this draft that I see that looks more comfortable with the ball in their hands than Laviska Shenault. He runs the ball like a running back, but plays wide receiver like a wide receiver. He's the best of both worlds. And he just has – people are comparing him to a Swiss Army knife. And I just don't like that classification because it kind of says, that he has to do all these things. I think Laviska Shenault could be a wholeheartedly successful wide receiver without the stuff that he's getting out of the backfield. But he has that shit out of the backfield as well, and that's what makes him great. He doesn't rely on it. It's just an added bonus to what you're already getting with him. His speed score was 103.2, which is the 78th percentile. And like I said, I see that going down if he was 100% healthy coming into the combine. He had a 35.1% dominator rating coming out of college. And, he's just super aggressive. He runs like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands. He is incredibly elusive. His route running, though, does leave something to be desired. I believe that it can be taught at the next level. I think it's something that can be learned out of him. But he doesn't have the best route running, but he is aggressive. And he's not going to have a problem at 6'1", 227 pounds of press coverage. He does track the ball very, very well, but he doesn't always high point the ball. And so it's the aggression that wins it. It's not that high pointing the ball, but he does have the body control to be able to track it on those deep passes. So that's something that I like. So just kind of, summing him up, I think that, and I guess one thing that we should include in here is that he does have an injury history. He had a torn labrum in 2018. He had a toe injury, turf toe in 2018. And then he had the core muscle injury coming into the combine. Now, I read a piece today that was talking about all of these injuries. The torn labrum, this was a therapist that was actually writing this, so I take their word. They said they're not worried about the torn labrum. The toe injury is a lingering problem, but it's a lingering problem if you don't let it rehab, and that's from back in 2018. And this core muscle injury, he's going to have the time to be able to recover from it. So while it does seem like he's a little bit more of a fragile wide receiver, I think it also could be a product of just the aggressive nature that he plays in and the way that he was used in college, running the ball out of the backfield. But that's something I still want to see from him. But I do think that they kind of used and abused him. His numbers were a little bit down in his senior year. I think that was also hampered by the injuries that we're talking about right here. But the thing that you can't discount is that he, in his combined 2 seasons at Colorado, he rushed for 276 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns, which equates that to an extra 69 fantasy points. And that's a huge ace to have up your sleeve. That's the thing that makes Deebo Samuel a valuable target right now, And so, you just can't get past that. He's a highly versatile wide receiver who I believe has the speed and strength to succeed at the next level combined with this rushing thing. And so while his injuries are a problem that we're going to have to worry about, maybe his whole career, maybe not, I still think that he can be a day one producer in the right system. But that being said, we got to go against his big-bodied counterpart in Bryan Edwards, He is 21.4 years old at 6'3" and 212 pounds. That's a large-bodied guy right there. He's got 9.5-inch hands with 32 and a quarter inch arms. And so he's got an okay wingspan for his height. He's just big, He did not participate at the combine because he had a foot injury. And so we didn't get to see his metrics. There's nothing that I saw on tape that told me that Bryan Edwards was going to blow anybody off the page, though. He doesn't look like the athletic freak that you see out there. He's not doing anything that makes anybody think that he's just going to blow you off the page. But what he does do really well is he wins in contested catch scenarios. If we discuss his career at South Carolina as freshman year, which is his fucking breakout year, was his freshman year at 17.8 years old. That's top, like low breakout age, which means that he is adaptable, and that's the one thing that you want to look at is that he is adaptable. We had Laviska Shenault who had that 1920, which is a good range for us. But then you see that 17.8-year-old breakout age, and that's just bonkers, man. He put up 44 receptions for 590 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, followed up by a sophomore season where he had 64 receptions, 793 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. A junior year with 55 receptions, 846 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. And a senior year with 71 receptions, 816 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, I think that senior year that he was hampered by an injury right then that knocked him out at the end of the season. I think that his numbers would have been way higher than that. But still, we're looking at respectable numbers for him. I just wish that, a breakout age that young, when you see that kind of production coming right out the gate, I wish that he could have done more for the rest of his collegiate career because that early breakout age would seem to indicate that he's going to be a mass producer. And he kind of just flatlined going through his sophomore, junior, senior year, But he did have a 48.4% dominator rating, which is in the 94th percentile of his peers. So, he had a huge target share of the offense. And so maybe, we're looking at they just didn't have that much production. But he's a contested catch monster. That's the one thing that when you're watching this guy, you see every single time is that he goes up and he makes plays in contested catches, But like we talked about on the last podcast, contested catch receivers are contested catch wide receivers because they're not making space. If you're making space, you don't have to make those contested catches. But I mean, Bryan Edwards exceeds in that arena, and we've seen other successful wide receivers excel there too. And so, I mean, he's got those strong hands that he plucks the ball out of the sky with, but his routes are something that are acceptable, not great. They need refinement, But like we said, he's got those strong hands that equate out to great contested catches. The only problem that I'll say with him is the same kind of problem that we were seeing with Denzel Mims, is that Bryan Edwards can make. He's got the body control that he can make those wild circus catches, and they look great. They're the oohs and ahs and all that stuff. But then he comes back down to earth, and he has a problem in short routes with catching it with his hands. He lets it get into his body. We get deflections. We get drops the same way that we were seeing with Denzel Mims. I'm hoping that can be taught out of him at the next level, But, I mean, I do like to see my wide receivers catching the ball away from their body and it just being instinctual. So that's something that he's going to have to overcome. The one last knock on him is that he brings nothing to the table after the catch. He is just kind of dead in the water once he catches that ball, which is weird because you see him be agile on his routes. We talked about this before, but you see him be agile on his routes. But then once he comes down with the ball, he does not translate any of that agility into having the ball in his hands. Where I was saying that Laviska Shenault is an absolute fucking monster with the ball in his hands after the catch, Bryan Edwards goes down on contact almost every single time. So you're not going to see, after the catch, big yards after carry from him or yards after catch from him. But I digress about that. Edwards he'll be a contributor in the right system. I think that somebody that you can compare him to is another South Carolina product in Alshon Jeffrey. They're the same kind of build, same kind of size, same kind of contested catch wide receiver with the routes that leave something to be desired, but they can be successful. So if you get him into the right system, then I think that he can be hugely successful. It's just he's got to find a quarterback that has the faith in him to just chuck up those prayer balls and let him go up there and grab it. And often you can't find that guy. So hopefully he lands in the right system, but there's a lot of ifs when we're talking about that. If he lands into this right system, if he has a quarterback that's willing to do it, And so because of those ifs, we've got to vote Laviska Shenault in because he has that aggression. He's got the build that I like. His routes leave something to be desired, but man, that guy just has that fucking X factor that every time you watch him, it's lightning in a bottle, and it's so much fun to watch. And so that for those reasons, Laviska Shenault's got to go on to the next round. Bryan Edwards, that's your second loss. We'll see how you fill in with the rankings once this is all said and done. But Laviska Shenault's going on to the next round. And so in the next round, and I know that this is a quicker episode, guys, but we've already been over some of these players, so we're just kind of doing player comparisons now. So they're going to be a little bit more rapid fire. I'm going to be coming out with the episodes a little bit more in preparation for the draft. And so we're just going to be kind of scattering these out. But so the next episode is going to be Eno Benjamin, our winner today, versus Anthony McFarland. And then Laviska Shenault, our winner today, versus Henry Ruggs III. And I'm really excited about both of those matchups because all these guys bring different things to the table. And that's what makes it so exciting is comparing the pros and cons of each of these players. And so, thank you guys for sticking with me. We hit 500 followers this week, and that is just fucking huge for me. And I just appreciate you guys so much sticking with me, being interested in the content that I have to put out there. Go check out the Twitter page. I dropped the new website today. And so, I think it looks pretty clean. It's got a consolidated list of all of the episodes and the new articles that I'm going to write are going to be coming out there. I'm also going to be uploading all of the graphics that I put up onto like anything that you see me put on the Twitter page. I'm going to be uploading it to the website so that you guys can all see it. Just really, really consolidated right there. And so check out the website. Thank you guys for the follows. If you liked what you saw in this video and the videos in the past, like, share, and subscribe because, like I said, these episodes are going to be coming out hot and heavy leading up to the draft, and you guys don't want to miss a thing, okay? And so thank you guys for participating with me. I hope you like what I had to say, but if you don't, fuck it because I'm drunk.